Welcome to my channel, Veterans Legacy. Tonight, I want you to sit back, turn up the volume, and open your heart, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a legacy, a memory carried on the shoulders of a girl who believed in something bigger than herself. A truth mocked by many, until the day the legends walked into the room and proved her right. Her name was Alara Brooks, a quiet 14-year-old with a messy ponytail, a backpack too big for her shoulders, and a habit of tracing her fingers along the old Navy SEAL patch sewn inside the front pocket. That patch once sat on the uniform of her grandfather, Chief Petty Officer Marshall Brooks, a man whispered about in certain circles, honored in others, and unknown to most of the world. To Alara, though, he wasn't a war hero. He was the man who taught her how to ride a bike, who carved wooden dolphins for her birthday, who hummed Navy cadences while flipping pancakes on Sunday mornings. A legend to everyone else. A soft-spoken giant to her. But legends can be dangerous. They invite disbelief. They invite envy. They invite mockery. And high school was a battlefield of its own. It started in the cafeteria. Alara sat alone. She always did, picking at cold fries and rereading a message her grandfather had sent her 3 months before he passed. Courage isn't loud, kiddo. Sometimes it's just holding your ground when the world says you're wrong. She missed him. She missed his voice, steady as an anchor. But today she needed it more than ever. Across the table, 3 students watched her: Tyler, the loudmouth; Jenna, whose laughter cut like glass; and Mark, who wanted to fit in so badly he'd agree with anything. Tyler leaned back in his chair. "So, Brooks," he called loudly, "tell us again about your Navy SEAL grandpa." Alara stiffened. She didn't want to do this. Not today. Jenna smirked. "Yeah, the legend. The guy who sneaks behind enemy lines or whatever." Tyler tapped his fork on the table. "Come on, tell us how he wrestled a shark or fought 1,000 bad guys. What was his name again?" "Captain America." A few other students nearby snickered. Alara swallowed, forcing her voice not to shake. "His name was Chief Petty Officer Marshall Brooks," she said softly. "He served for 27 years. He..." Tyler cut her off with an exaggerated gasp. "Oh, 27 years. Right. And let me guess, he personally trained the Avengers." More laughter. Alara's throat tightened. She wasn't trying to impress them. She wasn't even trying to talk about him. She just wanted to protect his memory. But kids could be cruel. Mark chimed in. "Dude, there's no way your grandpa was a SEAL. You'd have pictures or medals or something." Alara reached into her backpack, fingers brushing the patch, but she stopped. No, she wouldn't give them proof. Her grandfather once told her, "You don't explain truth to those who don't want to hear it." She zipped the bag shut and muttered, "Believe what you want." Tyler smirked triumphantly. Translation: "She's lying." And the rumors spread like wildfire. SEAL girl, fake military kid, storyteller. Every hallway became a minefield. Every classroom a firing squad of whispers. But Alara stayed quiet. She remembered her grandfather's voice. And she held her ground. 3 weeks later came the moment that set everything in motion. It was Veterans Legacy Night at her school, a ceremony to honor local service members and their families. Posters lined the halls, flags hung from the balconies, and students were invited to bring stories, photos, or mementos from their relatives who served. Alara's teacher encouraged her to participate. "You don't have to speak, Mrs. Hart said gently. Just bring your grandfather's patch. Let his memory stand with the others." Alara hesitated. Part of her wanted to hide it away forever. Part of her wanted the world to know who he was. And part of her wanted him back. Finally, she whispered, "Okay." But when she arrived at school with the patch carefully placed inside a wooden frame, the mockery began before she even made it through the hallway. Tyler spotted her and burst into laughter. "Oh my God, she actually brought something." Jenna walked up, peering closely at the patch. "That's not even real. You probably bought that online." "It wasn't bought," Alara said quietly. "It was his. He wore it in." Tyler grabbed the frame right out of her hands. "Careful," Alara cried. He held it up like a trophy. "So this is your big proof? A piece of fabric. Give it back. Or what?" Tyler sneered. "Your imaginary SEAL grandpa gonna rappel through the ceiling." The laughter hit her harder than any punch. Mrs. Hart rushed over and seized the frame from Tyler, her voice sharp. That's enough. But the damage was done. The whispers grew louder. People snapped pictures. Mocking comments spread online within minutes. Alara spent the rest of the day trembling, clutching the frame like a shield. She wasn't angry. She was heartbroken. Not for herself. For him. The night of the ceremony arrived. Families filled the auditorium. Children held faded photographs. Veterans sat in the front row, their uniforms tight around shoulders that once bore the weight of nations. A slideshow played across the screen, faces of soldiers who had served, fought, lived, and lost. Alara waited backstage, palms sweating, heart racing, staring down at the patch framed under glass. She didn't want to go out there anymore. Not after what happened. Mrs. Hart approached her gently. You don't have to speak, she whispered. You can just place the frame on the table and walk off. Alara nodded, but she didn't move. Because suddenly, from the side entrance of the auditorium, a hush fell over the crowd. Boots echoed against the polished floor. Not marching, just walking with quiet, deliberate purpose. 5 men in dark suits entered the room, broad-shouldered, calm-faced, eyes scanning the environment with the focus of trained predators. One had a cane, another had a sleeve rolled up where an arm once was, and the third carried a small wooden box. The insignia stitched subtly on their lapels made Mrs. Hart gasp. They were seals, real ones, decorated, scarred, steady as stone. They didn't sit in the audience. They walked straight toward the stage, and the entire room leaned forward. Even Tyler, especially Tyler. Mrs. Hart whispered, Alara, do you know these men? Alara shook her head, confused and terrified. The tallest of the group stepped toward her. His voice was deep, steady, carved from years of shouting orders over gunfire. You must be Alara Brooks. Her breath caught. How do you know my name? The man reached into his coat, pulled out a folded letter, and placed it into her shaking hands. It was left with us by someone who loved you very much. Alara stared at the envelope. Her grandfather's handwriting stared back at her. For Alara, deliver when she's ready. The world blurred. She couldn't breathe. Another man gently took the framed patch from her and studied it with reverence. He wore this on 13 deployments, the SEAL murmured. Your granddad saved my life in Kandahar. Damn near carried me 3 miles uphill while under fire. The others nodded solemnly. Saved mine in Mosul. Trained me in Coronado. Pulled me out of a collapsed building in Ramadi. Talked me out of quitting Hell Week. Alara's knees buckled, and Mrs. Hart caught her shoulder. The tallest SEAL looked around the auditorium, eyes sharp. I understand there are some people here who doubt this young lady's truth. The room went silent. Tyler shrank into his seat. The SEAL continued, voice low and unshaking. Chief Petty Officer Marshall Brooks wasn't a story. He wasn't an exaggeration. He wasn't a legend. He paused. He was a brother. They stepped aside, and the SEAL with one arm opened the small wooden box he carried. Inside lay her grandfather's trident. Gold, heavy, sacred, the symbol of a Navy SEAL. He held it out to her. Chief left this for you. Said you'd know when you were strong enough to carry it. Alara's hands trembled as she accepted it, tears streaming down her face and darkening the wood grain of the box. For the first time since he passed, she felt him again. The letters, the stories, the quiet strength. He wasn't gone. He had just passed the torch. Mrs. Hart whispered, Alara, would you like to speak? For the first time all year, the girl who never raised her hand, stepped forward. The microphone felt cold. The lights were blinding. Her voice shook at first. My grandfather never talked about what he did. He never bragged. He never acted like a hero. She looked at the SEALs standing in silent formation behind her. But he was one. Not because he fought, but because he cared. Because he believed in people. Because he believed in me. She wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve. People made fun of me when I talked about him. They said I was lying. They said he wasn't real. Then she did something no one expected. She turned toward Tyler. And it hurt. Tyler looked down, cheeks burning. But today, Alara continued, I don't need anyone to believe me. Because he believed in me first. She clutched the trident to her chest. And that's enough. The auditorium rose to its feet. Not politely. Not out of obligation, but because something in that moment, Something in her trembling voice, something in the presence of warriors honoring a little girl, stirred something deep inside every soul in the room. Even Tyler stood, even Jenna cried, even the janitor paused mid-sweep and wiped his eyes. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, Tyler approached her slowly. "Hey, Alara." She didn't look at him. He swallowed hard, hands shaking slightly. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I shouldn't have. You shouldn't have needed proof," she replied quietly. Tyler lowered his head. "You're right." He walked away without expecting forgiveness, and that was enough for her. The seals gathered around her, offering quiet smiles, steady hands, and a sense of family she hadn't felt since her grandfather passed. The tallest one placed a hand on her shoulder. "Your granddad loved you more than any medal, kid. He talked about you every chance he got." The man with the cane nodded. "He'd be damn proud of you today." Another added softly, "Courage runs in the blood." Alara held the trident close to her heart. For the first time, she believed them. That night, as she returned home, she placed the trident and the patch side by side on her desk and opened the letter. Inside was just one sentence. "Whenever they doubt you, kiddo, let them. The truth always walks in eventually." She smiled through her tears. And in the quiet of her room, surrounded by the artifacts of a man who had lived louder than any story, Alara Brooks finally understood. Legacy isn't about fame. It isn't about medals. It isn't even about war. Legacy is the courage you leave behind. Thank you for watching this emotional journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful, cinematic military stories right here on Veterans Legacy.